Alright, Smastian here, doing another post-battle commentary in the Objekt 430U. Russian Tier 10 medium tank, and we're just going to give a bit of a spoiler at the start here. I forgot to screenshot end plates again. But, whatever. At some point we'll figure it out and, well, this problem will fix itself. So we're on the map Sand River, and it's an encounter battle game mode, so our initial instinct is to go somewhere to the C7 area and get some early shots on people who are crossing the A6 grid square in order to get themselves into a better position up north. And so we aim to put ourselves there. So just a bit of casual driving, but the mediums there were a bit fast. We tried to maybe get a shot at the Progetto, but we get hit by a UDES, although at the time I was thinking it was the Objekt 263 that hit me. And we get a lucky shot into his side armor, which manages to penetrate. And this is the point at which an artillery and the UDES hit me again. The UDES is using the top gun, as we can gauge by the fact that he's doing 400 damage to us with each shell. Well, 370 with the first one, but point is, it's the top gun, judging by its alpha spread. And so, following that weird little engagement off the start, where I lost a bit too much health, I noticed that the southern flank is lacking in enemy troops, and I decided, or lacking in allied troops, and I decided to post myself up down there, partially because there is a lot of people up north. It's an encounter battle game mode, so you expect less people to go south on this map in such circumstances. And since I'm in a top tier medium tank, moving south like this together with this Pantera isn't such a bad idea. The Pantera takes a shot from what will soon show itself to be an SU-101 or the AMX CDA. I'm not entirely certain what was shooting him. But, well, we do spot the CDA. He goes down to half his health, and this is where we spot the SU-101, and we snap a shot into him while on the move, mostly because we want to get further low ground underneath his gun and underneath that guy's gun, right to this dune behind which I'm currently standing. This puts me hull down from the AMX CDA's gun and the SU-101's gun as well. And, judging by the fact that these are the only two folk here that we see so far, I think that, well, one of the thoughts going through my head is that this flank is relatively undefended. And so, we post up here, only expose our turrets, or our turret, and just dump shots into the CDA, and when he tries to return fire, he bounces off our best armor, and he gets dealt with promptly. We continue making the push forward, while artillery helps us out with the SU-101, and we don't immediately go over the rise of the dune, partially because the Mauerbrecher would spot us, and we still don't know where the FV 215B183 is, otherwise known as the Death Star. We snap a rather quick shot into the SU-101. Honestly, it's somewhat lucky that it managed to go in, but our AP rounds are able to deal with his frontal armor more or less well. And even if he bounced, well, we would have just dealt with the health trait at that point. We continue pushing forward. Our team seems to be doing well enough for itself so far. And our Pantera buddy has pointed out the other enemy Pantera, which we're going to dump a shot into because he's not paying attention to us. And, well, prevent ourselves from exposing too much of our tank to that FV, because as we see, the FV manages to take down our Pantera with one, what I assume is a high-explosive squash head shell. And the Pantera is feeling rather cheeky and thinks he can charge us down. But he's in for a bit of a surprise, because this tank is way more mobile than it ought to be on soft terrain like this. And so, what we're doing is we're pointing the front of our hull towards him as well as our turret, so that when he eventually decides to YOLO into us, we just keep ourselves at a distance, turning in place, keeping our frontal armor pointed towards him, so that he doesn't get a clear shot on any of our weak spots, thus allowing us to, well, prevent him from circle strafing us, as he tried to do. And now that the FV no longer is a front-line spotter, well, his view range is somewhat poorer than mine, it turns out. And, well, we do these little waggle back and forth movements, only exposing the top of our turret for a very brief period, keeping as hull down as possible, and taking snapshots. We don't want to stay out in front of his gun, because he's going to be firing high explosive at us most likely. And high explosive does damage no matter where it hits you. It doesn't have to penetrate. And if he hits us once and the artillery comes in to finish us off, or vice versa, then this engagement would turn out a bit worse. And that's why we're trying to stay as mobile as possible. And, well, we also noticed that his spotting distance is also rather poor. And there it was. Despite our waggling, he still managed to predict our movements and shot at the right time, and RNG helped him with the rest. Well, or rather, RNG didn't really go out of its way to screw him over, is a better way of putting it. And so now we're worried about artillery, but above all, we want to keep the FV-215B distracted with us. We're going into third-person mode from time to time, just to check if he's still looking at us, but in this case, we decided to fire at the Object 263, because, well, we're trying to expose ourselves to as few tanks as possible at a time. We're moving back, trying to dodge a suspected artillery shell, which doesn't end up coming, and only exposing ourselves to one tank at a time, so that only one gun is ever able to fire back at us. Our AP shell doesn't manage to go into the side of the FV there, but that's fine. It was at a bit of an extreme angle. And again, we were continuing to take snapshots, but as he was pulling back, we managed to dump a premium round into his side, and that's about all she wrote for him. Now we continue making a bit of a charge forward, and try to put a shot into the side of the 263, but our allies beat us to it. No matter. And now that we're doing so well, as a team, we are in damage farming mode. We don't care about our health, we don't care if we die, this game is more or less in the bag. The enemy object 140, the guy with the sort of golden 2 beside his name, denoting that he finished the second season of ranked battles in Gold League, already has 6 kills on the enemy team. Meanwhile, we have 4. The Yag Tiger is yelling that we should probably start capping, but I don't think he knows what he's talking about. Well, actually, he doesn't know what he's talking about. The enemy team is already on low enough HP that there isn't really a way they can pull a victory out of this unless people start playing stupidly. And, well, we're not playing stupidly. We're still trying to keep ourselves hull down, and only exposing our turret, sniping at range, and trying to avoid as much enemy return fire as possible. And besides, the turret here is already on cap. If things start going south, other folk can help get into the cap circle with him, or at least keep him defended. We know where the enemy team is. There's only 2, well, back when the Yag Tiger was calling for a cap situation, there were only 4 people alive, and they were in the C line. They were in the C 7 through 0 quadrants. So, we all know where they were, so we could position ourselves effectively, if need be, to counter them. Calling for a cap in such a situation isn't completely necessary, and that's about it. And so, despite being in damage farming mode, we bounce a shot off the lower plate or upper plate of the WZ, missing the shot there. We try to aim in a little bit better, but our shot RNGs its way into the ground. And finally, we managed to put another shot into him, but we're not going to get to pick up the kill. There's too little time left on the cap timer. And, well, I spent a bit too much time waiting with my shots here. And that about does it for the game. We're going to pause here because, again, as said earlier, we forgot to take a screen cap of the end plates, which I will at some point remember to do. And so, as we can see in the bottom left-hand corner, we managed to do a total of 5,600 damage this game, likely giving us the high caliber on our team. Again, we're not entirely certain because I don't have mods that specifically tell me how much damage I needed to do in order to get the high caliber, and I forget what the end plates were by this point. We managed to block a total of 1,000 damage with our armor and do a grand total of 923 spotting damage. At some point in the chat, by the way, someone was complaining about me being a shitter sniper, but, well, hopefully, this my commentary right now will show what exactly was going through my head, and why that criticism is somewhat unfair of the situation I found myself in throughout the entire game. And overall, that's about a wrap. We end the game off with 5 kills. Our team played well, and so did the enemy Objekt 140, as well as a bunch of the enemy teammates. I mean, you can't really take too much away from them. The match ended up being a 14-7 victory in our favor. Point is, the enemy team also did manage to pull its weight to some extent. And that having been said, I'm going to put a wrap on this video. Say like, comment, and subscribe. Give us some feedback, let us know if this kind of post-battle commentary is working for you. And with that, have a good day, and I'll see you in other rounds.